I was happy for him, to be quite honest with you. You know, obviously, in terms of talent, he was considered the #1 guy. He was considered the closest thing to a sure thing. So on a football level, you know, it was relatively predictable, not that surprising, but it really didn't have anything to do with my personal emotions. My personal emotions were I was happy for him because I detest the whole NFL system as it pertains to dissecting and evaluating guys coming out of college, because the kind of stuff that they put them through, the pro days, the NFL scouting combines, the Wonderlic test, invasive measures into their background. It's understandable considering the money that you have to invest in them, and I'm not denigrating it on that level. But when you see some of the stuff, the innuendos that are thrown out there, unsubstantiated reports where you're talking about guys to the level that they talked about this guy before he ever got his money. When you're a professional athlete and you're getting paid these big bucks and so many people have their monetary interests to protect, as much as people may abhor that process, we understand it. But there's an excessive level of cruelty that comes attached to it when you consider the fact that a guy is in college and, you know, he's coming out, he's going to enter the draft, and the first thing you hear is that kind of innuendo. He didn't work hard. He didn't do this, that, or the third. And then his coach, who he played for 3 years, comes out and substantiates such things by alluding to it because he's being measured against a former player playing running back for South Carolina whose work ethic was considered unparalleled. And from that point forward, it nosedived to the point where this has not been an enjoyable process for Jadeveon Clowney. It's been a cruel one. And it's been a cruel one, I'm not throwing Merrill Hodge into that equation because what I got from him was somebody who's simply a football analyst, looked at the tape and made his evaluation. There's nothing wrong with that. Those are big boy rules. But the personal stuff about Jadeveon that was just thrown out there, it was clearly in jeopardy of endangering his money, and nobody cared. And so it was nice to see the Houston Texans shove all of that aside and ultimately make this brother the #1 overall pick in the NFL draft. Because what they said is, we're going to go by the eye test and what we've seen. We're not going to worry about all of this stuff everybody else is saying about you. And on a rare occasion, that's a beautiful, beautiful thing to see and hear.
You, Ryan Clark, made the point to me and stopped me in my tracks yesterday. This is the safe pick, is to go with Clowney. And I hadn't thought of him as that safe because maybe I do overanalyze. But when I thought yesterday about Clowney to #1 overall Houston, it gave me pause only because I'm not sure about his drive, what I'm going to boil down as rage to win. Because it did concern me. It didn't trouble me. It concerned me a little bit. And remember, this is the kid I said 2 years ago. He's a better pass rusher than anybody in your league right now in the NFL. That's how gifted this kid is. When he's cranked up, man, he is unblockable by 3 people. And I'm going back 2 regular seasons ago. Now, you're right. We train cameras on it. We expect nothing but domination from him this year. And every stat fell. And I'm pretty sure he took it down a couple of notches this year. I could be wrong, you know, and again, we've had all kinds of analysts, Todd McShay come in, Mel come in and say, wait a second, he's fighting triple teams. So he gets frustrated, and after a while, it's like, how many of these plays can I chase? I'm just getting sick and tired of this. I want out of college football, and plus, as you well know, you do need to protect yourself to some degree because if you hurt yourself, nobody's going to take care of you, right? I mean, career-threatening injury. So I still say, I sit back, and I've covered the NFL for so long, I've gone through a Mike Singletary. There's no way. If you told Mike Singletary at Baylor, you got to shut it down this year, man. You got to protect your body. He's crazed. He plays with crazed rage. You and I have talked about Charles Haley, who now has 5 Super Bowl rings. Out of his mind every game. You couldn't have turned down his motor at any stage of his career. Preseason, he's not going to turn his motor down. Lawrence Taylor, the man was out of his mind. We're going to attack like a pack of wild dogs, and he was crazy, but he had the motor. Does Jadeveon have that motor? Because here's the point. Hang on, Stephen A. Here's the point. If somehow he had fallen to 2 or 3, now he's been really disrespected. He's not relieved. He's mad because you mean the Houston Texans courted me all that time? I spent all that time with them, and they dumped me down to 2 and 3, and finally I went to Jacksonville or wherever he might go? Well, then you've got chip on shoulder the way Johnny does at 22. I'm going to show the world. When you go number 1 overall, you're relieved, and you might think in the back of your mind, I made it. I arrived. That's my fear for Houston is, if that's his mentality going forward, I finally made it, Mama. And he said, I'm going to take care of my mom. And it was a beautiful moment last night. But if that's what he's thinking in his head, I finally made it. And it's not the money, because the money anymore on this cap system is not that great. It's not like set for life kind of money like it used to be when Sam Bradford got $50 million guaranteed. But still, it's a lot of money, and it's the announcement of your name is you're the best guy in the draft. Is he going to be cranked next year? I don't know.